You know, Israel has launched a bold strike against Iran's nuclear and missile sites. Now, I want us to watch as Prime Minister Netanyahu leads Operation Rising Lion, and Joseph's going to have something to say about that. Operation Rising Lion, a pivotal moment with global and prophetic significance. This really is very prophetic. Let's watch this.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
Of course, that was Benjamin Netanyahu and explaining why Israel had to do what they did. We've known for some time that they were gathering materials to make a nuclear weapon with, I mean, they have announced it over and over that they would use it to annihilate Israel. Is that true, Joseph?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just even yesterday at the time we're here together, they found another facility that they were developing nuclear weapons, and it was 2,500 acres is how big the building was.
Oh my God.
And it was so massive. And suddenly everybody said they really do have this capability.
Yeah.
And they're going after it. You know, it's interesting. I was hosting a conference just the last few days, and Prophet Brian was with me. And one of the things that happened in my session, I stood up on stage and prophesied, the lion is roaring. And people started texting me while I was on the platform and say, they just announced Rising Lion. What's happening here?
Wow.
And I heard the words, there will be a silver lining to this. So in other words, it'll roar, it'll be difficult. And then I saw another thing, Joni, in that moment, and I talked to Prophet Brian about it. I saw a giant wooden gate to a city that was broken in half. Suddenly it broke and it stopped, and it could go no further. So we believe that it means that there's going to be this breakdown. Difficulty is happening and will happen, but it will not break into it completely. It will be stopped.
So let's just talk a little bit about some of the things going on. There was a G7 summit in Canada. Our president was there.
He was.
He was supposed to stay several days, but he came back early.
Yeah, he did.
So what was going on? What do you think's going on? I mean, what can we gather from that?
I believe that when he found out that they had such a vast arsenal for nuclear activity, he immediately left the summit, came back, said, I want to meet everybody in the Situation Room, got ready, and started getting everybody equipped to go after this scenario. And then, of course, in the same threat, the same moment, you see China take a position where they said, we're going to side and back Iran. We're going to stand behind Iran. We're going to do this. You see Russia a little bit involved, but China gets cheap oil from them. They get cheap fuel from Iran, and they do it in a very, not good way. I will just say it that way. And that is what's taking place. We're seeing these military forces beginning to face off against one another, and Israel saying, this is the last straw, we're going to stop you. Trump recognizes if he doesn't put a stop to it now, it's going to go for a long time and damage the whole world.
And so wasn't there an announcement that went out for people in Tehran?
Yeah, 17 million people.
To get out of Tehran?
And I think that's a very merciful thing to do, to say, and he didn't order them to get out. He said, this is your 2-minute warning. Please get out.
And so what about what Iran is doing with missiles versus what Israel is doing? What's the difference?
Well, the difference is, of course, with Israel, they have very targeted, pointed missiles. Iran actually lost a lot of their guidance systems, and they just began to fire wildly into Israel. Some of them were getting through the Iron Dome. They were striking areas, and they are just letting it go. And the fear is...
Into civilian areas.
Right into civilian areas.
I mean, hospitals.
It doesn't matter.
Apartments,
And Israel's
homes.
merciful.
At the start of this conflict, President Trump gave Iran 60 days to come up with a deal, and they just couldn't get to the table. So day 61 is when Israel attacked. So we see him at first trying to make a deal, And it's interesting because literally right before we started filming this program, President Trump released a statement that he says America now has control of the skies in Iran, which is the first time you hear him kind of taking ownership of the conflict, because he was taking a very like sidebar position. And then he also said that he knows where the supreme leader is, and he's calling for unconditional surrender. What do you think he's going to do, and how do you think it's going to play out?
Well, I think there's a number of things that could happen, and Prophet Brian can speak to this in a moment, but I do believe that there could be a toppling of the regime, but then also that I do believe, this is, so a few weeks ago I'm in my studio and I get prophetic words going all the way back to 2023 that Israel would march on Iran. I prophesied that in 2023, saw that, but where we are right now, I believe is that it's going to cause them to rush to the table. Either a toppling is going to cause that, the threat of a nuclear activity that does go off the chain, or just pure pounding them into submission. I sense they're going to rush to the table and try to get this resolved before long.
Hey family, if you're feeling inspired by this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment what's on your heart today. And don't forget to share this content with someone who needs to be uplifted so we can continue to be a light together.